He's also a liar. First Take is the #1 morning show, 13 years and counting. Don't tell me you an athlete and you don't know that. Don't tell me you an athlete and you don't know that Cam Newton ain't on the show. You lying.
Who would have thought? Who would have thought this one clip would cause so much controversy? Who would have thought crying Ryan Clark wouldn't be the one making dumbass comments on First Take? I guess Stephen A. Smith borrowed the dunce cap and decided to become the resident doofus this weekend. You know, I'm starting to wonder if ESPN has a little bit of buyer's remorse. I'm starting to wonder if ESPN regrets giving Stephen A. Smith a $100 million contract. When the contract was announced earlier this year, I told you guys ESPN was overpaying Stephen A. Smith. Now, that does not mean he didn't deserve the money. That does not mean Stephen A. Smith didn't earn the money, but two things can be true at the same time. From Stephen A.'s perspective, I understand why he felt like he deserved $20 million a year. ESPN is paying Pat McAfee $17 million, and he can't draw flies to a fresh turd. Well, Casey, that's not true. Pat McAfee's a huge success on YouTube and digital media. Yeah, he is. I'm not saying Pat McAfee is a huge embarrassing failure. I'm just pointing out the truth. Pat McAfee does not draw ratings on television. Stephen A. Smith draws double the ratings that Pat McAfee does. So from his perspective, I understand why he wanted $20 million a year and why he wanted to be the highest paid talent at ESPN. But from ESPN's perspective, I'm starting to wonder if there's buyer's remorse. ESPN is paying Sean Hannity money for CNN ratings. Matter of fact, the audience for First Take is smaller than the audience at CNN. There were more survivors on the Titanic than people watching CNN at 9 o'clock on a Tuesday morning. But KC, Stephen A. Smith says he's got the #1 morning show on TV for the last 13 years. Yeah, I know what he says, but that doesn't mean it's true. Anyone can make up a category and claim they're #1. I'm the #1 show on YouTube hosted by dudes named KC. What does that mean? Not a damn thing. Historically, ESPN as a network has been allergic to controversy. They don't like it. They don't like negative publicity. They don't like to be criticized. If I had to guess, they damn sure don't like the face of their network labeling one of the young up-and-coming stars in the NFL as a liar, especially when Stephen A. Smith is calling Drake Maye a liar because he doesn't watch the traveling butt bongo festival known as First Take. When you're on the lower end of the payroll, one of the benefits that comes with a lower salary, lower expectations. If Jose Alvarado has a bad season in New Orleans, who cares? He's making less than $5 million a year. He's a role player. If Luka Doncic has a bad season or 2 consecutive bad seasons, you have a serious problem. Not only are you paying him a max contract, you also potentially have an untradeable contract. You're stuck. Stephen A. Smith has always been controversial. He has been suspended multiple times. He's had issues at times with multiple athletes. Hell, Stephen A. was fired by ESPN 15 or so years ago. A lot of people didn't want to work with him. When you're on the lower end of the payroll and you're causing problems, you're a nuisance. When you're the highest paid talent in sports media, and your ratings aren't what they used to be, and you're suddenly being attacked and potentially exposed by multiple former colleagues, and at the same time, you're pissing off the most powerful league in the country, you're no longer a nuisance, you're a problem. I'm just wondering if ESPN has regrets, and I'm wondering if Stephen A. Smith knows it. Make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. I am now opening up nominations for the Huge Embarrassing Failure Awards next month. For those that don't know, every December here on the channel, we honor those who achieved embarrassing failure throughout the year. The show was inspired by the original Huge Embarrassing Failure, Bomani Jones. I take your nominations, you guys vote on the winner. You get to decide. You get to select the winner of the most prestigious award in all of entertainment. So send me your nominations through email, btlkc84@gmail.com. Again, BTL, like behind the line, btlkc84@gmail.com. It has been a brutal month for Stephen A. Smith. If this were a game of chess, the month started with a pawn trying to dethrone the king. Earlier this month, Michelle Beadle attacked Stephen A. Smith for partnering with some doofus solitaire company. For those that don't know, Stevie was busted playing solitaire on his phone during the NBA Finals back in June. I never understood why it was such a big deal. He partnered with some solitaire app. He accepted money to promote their game. It was basically a spoof. And Michelle Beadle, for some reason, was mad. Like I said, this was a pawn going after the king. Michelle Beadle has been bitter with Stephen A. Smith for years now, over a decade. Her bitterness reached its apex over the summer when Stephen A. took her time slot on SiriusXM. He took her job, and Michelle Beadle was fired. Then, Cari Champion decided to get involved. Well, KC, who in the hell's Cari Champion? Cari would be an automatic nominee for the Huge Embarrassing Failure Awards. Problem is, in order to be nominated, your failure has to be known. It has to be recognized. Cari Champion is the worst kind of failure. She's unknown. My inside sources once told me that Cari Champion is so unknown, she was denied access to the Champion family reunion. Even when she produced her ID, security would not allow her in. There is no way this woman is a champion. I guess Cari was desperate for attention, so she joined the Beadle and criticized Stephen A. Smith. Speaking of being desperate for attention, Jemele Hill has now boarded the Bruce Caboose. For reasons unknown, Stephen A. Smith decided to respond to the criticism from Michelle Beadle and the unknown champion. I don't know why. This would be the equivalent of an elephant getting into an argument with a flea. During his unnecessary response, Stephen A. Smith claimed that he is the reason for the disease of diversity infecting First Take. He took credit for turning First Take into BET. Naturally, this upset Skip Bayless. Hey, it's me, Skippy B! To her credit, Jemele Hill finally found a productive way to cure her need for attention. She came to the defense of Skip Bayless and credited Skip for giving black voices the opportunity to appear on First Take. Earlier this week, Stephen A. Smith apologized to Skip Bayless and admitted that Jemele Hill was right, which she was. Okay, so at this point, we have a collection of angry women attacking Stephen A. Smith. Normally, I would just write this off as jealousy or bitterness. But then, Paul Feinbaum attacked Stephen A. Smith for making the potential departure of Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss all about race. According to Stevie, Lane Kiffin should leave Ole Miss. Young brothers don't want to play in Mississippi. That state is racist. Then Dave Portnoy attacked Stephen A. Smith for calling Drake Maye a liar. So Stephen A. Smith is being attacked from all angles. What does he do in response to all these attacks? He makes a 45-minute video where he is screaming about Jason Whitlock, or as Stevie prefers to call him, my favorite walrus. What the hell does Jason Whitlock have to do with any of this? Yes, Jason Whitlock has a weird obsession with exposing Stephen A. Smith, but that obsession has been strong for years. So why in the hell is Stephen A. Smith attacking the black man when he is being attacked by the Beadle and black women? According to Stephen A. Smith, this walrus disrespected my daddy. As you guys know, Uncle Casey doesn't do personal attacks, especially when we're talking about someone's family. To me, family is off limits. But Jason Whitlock didn't attack Daddy Smith. Last week, he was interviewed by Sage Steele, and Jason Whitlock simply pointed out that Stephen A. Smith's public narrative about his father is different today than it was 25 years ago. That was it. Stephen A. Smith attacking Jason Whitlock, it came out of nowhere. When he did the same thing last year, Stephen A. claimed it would be the last time that he talked about his favorite walrus. So, why now? Matter of fact, why would Stephen A. Smith waste his time giving any of these people free publicity? Outside of Paul Feinbaum, the rest of these people are proverbial pawns. I like Jason Whitlock, but in terms of mainstream exposure, he ain't on Stevie's level. The Beadle lady damn sure ain't on his level. Jamel Hill is so irrelevant, she's not on any level. And Cari Champion ain't even in the damn game. So why would Stephen A. Smith waste his time giving these people free publicity, giving them exactly what they want? Maybe, just maybe, this is a diversion. Maybe he is trying to start other fires to divert attention away from the flaming ass fires that he is starting at ESPN. This weekend, the attention has shifted away from Stephen A. calling Drake Maye a liar, and it shifted to this weird ongoing argument between two dudes who are old enough to be grandfathers. From the outside looking in, it looks like Stephen A. Smith is falling apart. Like I said earlier, drastic increases in salary bring drastic increases in expectations. Sometimes money can be a curse. It creates jealousy. It causes colleagues to turn against you. That old saying, it's lonely at the top, that is not hyperbole. Now, do I think Stephen A. Smith is at risk of losing his job at ESPN? Absolutely not. This is the first year of the contract. Stevie's job is secure. But I do wonder if ESPN has buyer's remorse. For starters, they're paying Stephen A. Smith significantly more money for less work. Now, that alone is no big deal, but they've also allowed him to focus on other things. His production company, political and social commentary, his YouTube channel. He has 2 shows on SiriusXM. He's making appearances on News Nation. He's doing town halls. All of these things take time, which means Stephen A. is no longer fully focused on what ESPN is paying him for, which is sports. But KC, you've always said Stephen A. Smith is more of an entertainer. Yeah. Yeah, he is. But you still got to know something. Why do you think First Take has become a panel show? Instead of a one-on-one debate between Stephen A. and Max Kellerman, Stephen A. and Skip Bayless, it's become a panel of different people. Why? Less work for Stephen A. Smith. And look, I don't blame him. I told you guys years ago, I thought Stephen A. Smith had gotten tired of sports. He made it to the top of the industry. There was nothing else for him to achieve. He wanted to do a late night show, wanted to start a production company. I thought Stephen A. Smith would leave ESPN, and he probably would have if they hadn't offered him $100 million to stay. To me, it's clear that Stephen A's focus has changed. Priorities have changed. He's no longer really an NBA insider. Hell, he's working most nights when NBA games are on. First Take isn't nearly as popular as it used to be. When it was Stephen A and Max, when it was A and the grown man who calls himself Shay, I remember First Take making media headlines every week. Today, you barely hear about the show. That doesn't mean Stephen A isn't valuable to ESPN, but is he really worth $20 million a year? Is he really worth $100 million? Is ESPN really getting a return on their investment? You tell me. Sound off in the comments below. I'll see you guys tomorrow.